What has been unfolding since Saturday morning is shocking for the suffering that this attack caused and is causing to innocent civilians, and the tragic impact this will have on the possibility of the two people to live side by side in peace and security. I spoke to the Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen to express the solidarity of the European Union, our condemnation of violence and terror, and express the need on their answer to respect international humanitarian law and to prevent more civilian lives from being lost. I also spoke to the Palestinian Prime Minister Stahayev to ask the Palestinian Authority, that has not to be confused with Hamas and other terrorist organizations, to contribute to immediate cessation of hostilities and promote the interests of the Palestinian people and the aspiration of the whole region to security and stability. When we say that we have to prevent more civilian lives from being lost, this should not be a rhetoric statement that goes without continuation. It has to be a clear request to everybody. I also spoke to many in the Gulf countries and other partners in the region. And I think that the priority now is to stop the violence, to de-escalate, to protect civilians, and the release of all hostages. The balance of those days is awful, unbearable. Over 900 Israelis and we don't know, maybe 700 Palestinians, but the number is growing by the hour, have been killed, in addition to thousands of injured on both sides. The scale of the aggression took everyone by surprise, even though we were always aware and vocal about the fact that moving forward without peace or any political horizon was not sustainable. And that to make peace between Israel and the Arab states was necessary and good, but it cannot substitute making peace with the Palestinians. This is precisely why, together with the League of Arab States, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Jordan, we started a joint initiative to help to revitalize the two-state solution on the 18th of September with the Peace Day effort. Yes, because we need to look for the solution to the Palestinian issue. We cannot believe that it could be encapsulated and frozen and forgotten. The problem is there, and it requires a solution. And if there is not a two-state solution, then which is the alternative solution, if any? And this tragic event may be a wake-up call for the international community to remember that this problem is still unsolved, and we have to engage in trying to solve it to avoid the repetition of what has happened in those days. But this small and humble effort that we undertaken, together with our Arab friends, cannot replace a real negotiation process between the parties. We need a real push for peace. We need to recalibrate what we said at the United Nations meeting. It's not at the height of the problem today. We need to do more and quicker. We all need to engage actively in a persistent and creative manner to move beyond the current deadlocks. The conflict will not go away. It will not disappear. And it will only get worse with time. Though the peace looks very remote today, much more remote than some days ago, and even the process for peace negotiations look dim at this point, It remains the only way to achieve a long-term solution that brings peace and security to both peoples. And at the European Union, we still believe that the way forward remains the two-state solution. Difficult it may be, because we could not imagine another one. And we are keen to work with our key partners to that end and build on what we started in New York last month. Maybe these tragic events and so many lives lost may be a wake-up call for the international community to face this problem and to engage really to look for a solution to it. Dear Ministers, dear Secretary General, with these thoughts on our mind, and I am sure this will take quite a long part of our discussion today, because our discussion today cannot be business as usual, as if nothing had happened. With these thoughts in mind, we must deal with the current crisis today and work more closely together. Seeing us divided is exactly what Hamas and terrorist organizations want. We must resist polarization. The support of our Arab friends in stopping violence is vital. And in this regard, for instance, by passing messages to Hamas, as well to Israel, in order to prevent the crisis from spiraling and going out of control and embracing the whole region. We must seize the opportunity that today's meeting presents. Today we have a date with the history, if I may say. This is not an ordinary meeting. Today we have a date with the history. And an opportunity to explore ways to do what we can to defuse the ongoing crisis and look beyond the current day and try to project our efforts in the future in order to look for a solution that could prevent this happens again. 1 year after the adoption of our strategy for the Gulf, the members of the Gulf Cooperation Council, we Europeans, we are here today to take stock of the progress of our cooperation, but mostly to commit to work together more and in more strategic areas. And that is very much important. It's still more important today in these times marked by evolving geopolitical dynamics that challenges the rule-based order, on those times of fast-paced innovation that urge governments to anticipate and address legal, societal, and ethical issues arising by the application of new technologies. I can cite how things have changed a lot in the last 2 years. The war of aggression against Ukraine has unleashed a spiral of violence and devastation. Across the Sahel, a serious scope of destabilization in the region as terrorism is gaining ground. Sudan is descending into full-scale civil war and disappearing from the front pages of the newspapers and media. Afghanistan also has disappeared, but is still there. Meanwhile, the global humanitarian system is overstrained by the growing needs. But we have also witnessed promising development initiated in the Gulf region. We have welcomed the reconciliation efforts that led to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Iran agreement in March, and we are very pleased to see that greater regional ownership of its security. Nonetheless, the latest drone attack of a military camp at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia-Yemen border that has killed 3 or maybe more Bahraini soldiers, for which I extend our heartfelt condolences to the Kingdom of Bahrain, indicates that continued efforts are an imperative to ensuring peace and stability in the region. We are also following with the greatest attention the consequences of the ruling by the Iraqi Supreme Federal Court on the 2012 Maritime Border Agreement with Kuwait. I had the opportunity of discussing that with my Kuwait fellow minister. Both Iraq and Kuwait are privileged European Union partners, And we want to set the issue, solve, and we stand ready to help and to support the territorial integrity of Kuwait. We will have the chance to talk about this more in depth during our meeting, but now allow me to revert to another subject. We, the European Union, with the full backing of its member states, are ready to support these region-led efforts to address the security challenges in the Gulf by finding common ground to address regional stability and combining efforts. We can yield meaningful results and contribute to a more secure and prosperous world. This is why the endorsement today by this Joint Council of the EU Gulf Cooperation Council Security Dialogue is paramount to extend our partnership into the realms of security and stability. We are ready to make such dialogue quickly operational and hold the first meeting in Riyadh in January 2024. We promote the escalation policy for the maritime security in the Gulf and especially in the Strait of Hormuz and the Arabian Sea. We want to make a stronger work deepening the synergies between our two maritime operations, Agenor and Atalanta. Yesterday I had the opportunity of visiting here one of the warships of this mission, and thank you very much to Oman for its support. Yes, we need to explore avenues for regional maritime security cooperation with the Gulf, and our bilateral maritime security cooperation has to increase. Ministers, we have a lot to discuss on our joint action program that we endorsed last year Council. We have to talk about our trade relations, which remain central in our partnership. We have to further stimulate and increase business cooperation. We are keen to play a pivotal role in the realization of our visionary initiative, and I believe it's the greatest scope for cooperation with the GCC as a natural bridge between the three continents. We can use our investment capabilities of the EU and GCC countries to effectively engage the private sector to unlock the capital needed in order to face the great challenges of climate change and development. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about our humanitarian support. I am very glad to count on the presence of the Commissioner for Crisis Management, General Lenarchik, who yesterday immediately said that our humanitarian support to the Palestinian people will not stop. And I thank you for saying that publicly. Finally, let me stress the importance of fostering people-to-people contacts. And for that, we need a mutual understanding and respect for diversity, to fight against Islamophobia, but also against Palestinophobia, to fight against any kind of phobia based on ethnical reasons. And I have to regret that some events in Europe have created some embarrassing situation. I present our excuses for that. And believe me, there is not Islamophobia in the European societies. And now I leave the floor to the Special Representative of the European Union for the Gulf, the former Italian Minister Luigi Di Maio. I will have to urge you to shorten your intervention to 2 minutes, dear Luigi. We have appointed him for the first time and is European Union Special Representative for the Gulf. And as part of your mandate, dear Luigi, is to engage to support dialogue and long-term solutions to the stability of the region. Then the floor will be for the Spanish Secretary of State for Foreign and Global Affairs, Ms. Ángeles Moreno Bau, and we will continue our meeting.